Welcome to Curiosity on the Move, where we prove it's never too late to learn something new. I'm Lee, and I'm on a mission to try things I've always wondered about and to take you along for the ride. The world is full of skills, sports, hobbies, and adventures just waiting for curious minds like ours. And here's the bonus. Learning new things isn't just fun, it's one of the best ways to keep our brains healthy and engaged as we age. So, whether you're looking for a new passion, a way to meet people, or just want to keep that mental sharpness, you're in the right place. I recently had the opportunity to attend a sound bath at the South Carolina Aquarium and subsequently a Reiki session. So, I have had one sound bath experience in the past, but never Reiki. Our bodies are made of matter, and all matter possesses a massive amount of locked up energy. This is, Einstein's formula E equals mc squared. Our bodies are fundamentally composed of vibrating atoms and dense forms of energy. So, what fascinates me is that we are vibrational beings. Our hearts generate measurable electromagnetic fields. Our cells respond directly to physical frequencies like sound. So, think of being in your car with the bass turned up. You can feel it in your chest or in your heart, and you can see the rearview mirror vibrate. So, while science is still mapping out exactly how human touch or intention interacts with this biofield, I love staying curious about this connection. We might not have all the data points or exact mechanisms figured out, and maybe we don't have to, but exploring how these subtle interactions make us feel is part of the journey and something I wanted to experience for myself. So I found that down at the South Carolina Aquarium, they had sound baths once a month. It was being taught by Christian McClellan, who's the founder of Sacred Soma here in Charleston. He is also a Reiki master, and when I reached out, he suggested that I also do a Reiki session. I had never done one before and was intensely curious about them. So after the sound bath and a few days later the Reiki session, I sat down with Christian, and this is what I learned from him. In general, how did Sacred Soma come to be?
Around 2012, 2013, I was in San Francisco, had just moved out there. I was practicing law. I ran into a sense of stuckness. I was dealing with some depression and some substance use issues, and I started reading existentialist philosophy and reading the Bible and doing guided meditations online, and I really resonated with a chakra meditation. Got on the Google machine, and here, 6 blocks away from the house I was living in, was a Kundalini meditation teacher. So I really got into that practice, and that was really transformative for me. I was receiving Reiki as a client to help with some of those issues, and the energetic focus of the practice and the energetic focus of Reiki, there was a resonance there. And so when Bronwyn, my Reiki master, offered a class, I started studying it more as a curiosity or a hobby. Fast forward to 2019, my wife and I sold our business in San Francisco and had planned before any of the crazy events of 2020 to move across the country. But when we moved out here, I was faced with taking the bar to practice in South Carolina. I started thinking, do I really want to take the bar again? Do I really want to be a lawyer? And I'd gone all the way through master level in the Reiki training and had this spiritual practice. And so I thought, let's see what there is here. And then after I moved here and started contemplating practicing professionally, I connected with a woman named Arlen who does sound baths around Charleston, and she was doing her first sound training. And so I took that training, and that was sort of the third leg of the stool.
So I guess you touched on this a little as we talked about how it became, but how did you really turn this into a business? So you had taken all this training and then one day...
Yeah, I started doing Reiki pop-ups at Wildcraft over in Windermere because they at the time had a space where you could get like skin treatments and stuff, but one day a week their esthetician wasn't there, and then I got a place downtown, an office space, and worked there for a while. And then a few years ago, moving into the home just made sense because I can be there when the kids get out of school at 2:30, and with this space I can do small sound baths or meditation classes in the house. And Bronwyn, my teacher, always practiced out of her home, and there's something energetically about being able to really curate and cultivate a space.
Was there a moment or an experience that you had that convinced you that this was time to start that business, that kind of light bulb moment?
I think during COVID, everybody had this certain freedom that came out of the dislocation of like, I could do something new. And I think, from the period of starting the practice to now 8 years later and having grown and healed in a lot of ways, that gratitude for my teachers expresses itself as a desire to share this. Whether it's the sound baths or the meditation or the Reiki, like all healing is really self-healing. Being able to be a part of that moment for them is just really humbling, gratifying, insert adjective.
Before we get into the sound bath itself, a little context on where this practice actually comes from. Tibetan singing bowls, gongs, and chanting have been used in meditation and healing practices across Asia for centuries, but generally as a signal to the start and end of meditation and to focus attention. So the modern sound bath as a wellness offering is newer, gaining traction in the West over the last couple of decades as sound healing has crossed over into yoga studios and wellness spaces. So rubbing a mallet around the rim of a bowl to create a sustained, continuous drone is largely a Western adaptation. And frosted quartz crystal bowls were born out of the 80s in Silicon Valley. They were found to produce incredibly powerful, loud, and sustaining harmonic frequencies when struck, and that was quickly adopted for meditation. So the idea is that certain frequencies can shift your brain waves into deeper, more restorative states, the same alpha and theta states that hit you right before sleep. The physical vibrations can lower heart rate, reduce cortisol, and alter brain waves to ease anxiety. Christian uses crystal bowls, gongs, and a few other instruments in his sessions, and here's what he told me about how it actually works. Can you explain that, like in a sound bath, what is actually happening, just physiologically, energetically? How is the sound working?
You can think of this idea of entrainment, which is if you have two tuning forks and you strike one and you bring it next to the other one, that other one will start vibrating at the same frequency. That in the sound bath, it's the instruments. In the Reiki, it's me. In a practice like forest bathing, it's nature. But bringing ourselves into the presence of a stable resonating frequency is a invitation for us to find that frequency within ourselves. The neat thing about the sound bath is, unlike, say, meditation, where it's really a constant task for many people of calming the mind or getting out of the mind, the sound seems to really fill that space and make it easier for people to drop out of the mind and into awareness. The science, it's out there, and I've seen some cool stuff where they took blood from people and then made them sit through a sound bath, and then took blood again, and immune system markers went up and stress markers went down. But I'm really happy to live in the mystery. I don't need to hook electrodes up to my head and measure exactly what's going on, because for me, for my clients, what really is alive is the experience, and the experience of how life can shift.
What kind of instruments do you actually use? Are these
So
the bowls or
the crystal singing bowls are really the core, and I've got 7 of those that are tuned to frequencies which are associated with the chakra system, the internal energetic system in our body. The gong is a centerpiece, used sparingly, but that's made by a guy up in Rhode Island who hand makes symphonic gongs. And then the chimes, the ocean drum, lots of people love the ocean drum, are woven in for transitions and layer it on, but yeah. And it's like there are always a million new toys.
Oh,
We
I'm
have
sure.
to be very careful of this, what I call spiritual materialism, which is the idea that if I just get that meditation cushion that I saw on Instagram, or if I just get that crystal, then it'll all work. But the growth over the years of doing sound baths has been that less can be more, and that, allowing space for the instruments to speak with one another, that those punctuations of stillness or silence to, when I came in, I'm like trying to get all the bowls going at once and then bringing in this stuff, and there's definitely a less is more aspect to it.
So what should somebody expect if they're doing this for the first time?
We spend so much of our time in our mind, and that is an important human function, and it really, most of the time, wants the best for us, but it expresses that by constantly looking out for danger and looking out for opportunity and thinking about the past and thinking about the future. And it's also where the trouble starts sometimes, with control, with self-criticism, with self-judgment. And I spent so many years thinking I was my mind. And when you begin a mindfulness practice, so many people have said, I tried meditating, but I couldn't stop thinking. And it's like, well, I only know one way to stop thinking, and
Right.
I'm not ready for that yet. But being able to see our thinking and, breathing in, breathing out, oh, there's an itch on my knee. Breathing in, breathing out, and like not having to follow the mind, not having to be ruled by the mind. Starting to find that space, and that's the effect of Reiki, it's the effect of the sound bath. Generally deep relaxation. Yeah, many of my clients over time feel less pulled out of center with the different dynamics of their life. And one of the really neat things is working with people who are going through a transition, a divorce, a job change, some health crisis, and them coming to understand what I sort of know at the beginning, which this is actually a graduation, an up-leveling, an opportunity for some shift to happen in our life that we maybe weren't expecting.
I visited with Christian a few days after that sound bath to experience a Reiki session, hands on energy work. So, a brief history on the origins and the global spread of Reiki. So, Reiki was created in Japan in 1922 by Mikao Usui. He embarked on a 21-day fasting and meditation retreat on Mount Kurama near Kyoto. And at the end of this retreat, he experienced a profound spiritual awakening. He realized he could channel universal life energy, or ki, for healing. So he named this method Reiki, combining the Japanese words rei, universal or spiritual consciousness, and ki, life force energy. He opened a clinic in Tokyo to offer treatments and to teach this new system. Before passing away in 1926, Usui trained 16 Reiki masters, among which was Chujiro Hayashi. He was a retired naval officer and helped formalize the structured hand positions that are used today. Hayashi established his own clinic in Tokyo, where practitioners worked in pairs. And in 1935, a Japanese-American woman from Hawaii named Hawayo Takada traveled to Japan seeking medical treatment. She visited Hayashi's clinic, where her health was fully recovered. She became a devoted student, convinced Hayashi to train her, and she brought the practice back to Hawaii in 1937. Takada spent 40 years practicing and modifying the system to make it accessible to Western minds. Before her death in 1980, she initiated 22 Reiki masters to ensure the lineage continued. Since the 1980s, Reiki has grown into a highly popular global movement. In the West, practitioners often combine traditional Japanese concepts with other holistic modalities like chakra balancing, crystal healing, and sound baths. Today, Reiki is increasingly utilized in mainstream healthcare systems, with many hospitals and wellness centers offering it as a complementary therapy to help patients reduce stress, manage pain, and promote deep relaxation. So Christian trained as a Reiki master, and I asked him what that actually means and what a first-timer like me should expect. So how does the energy work differ or connect to the sound bath versus the Reiki? And I think you had mentioned before it was just a matter of the instrument, whereas the instruments in the sound bath, you in the Reiki, and say the nature for forest, but
The sound baths are really neat because I think it's for many people, it's their introduction to a mindfulness practice or to working with energy in this sort of way. I think probably with the Reiki, there can be a deeper experience because there's more of a feedback when I'm working one-on-one. Like, we're limited by the time, but if I feel like, okay, something's moving in this chakra, I can spend longer there. I think the one-on-one work allows the weaving in of these different modalities, like sometimes bringing in some breath work with the client, or doing a guided meditation together, or every experience is different though.
So, I mean, this was my very first time doing Reiki, but when, for someone like me who's never experienced it, how would you explain what's actually going on during a session?
Hmm. um, I'm using my connection to the energy in me to encourage the awakening of the energy in the person. The big thing about healing work, the big thing about spiritual work is that we're already whole and complete. Like, I'm even reticent a lot of the times to use the word healing because our essence, our spirit, or our Atma in Sanskrit, is whole. It's complete. And it's already awake. But we cover it with the layers of judgment, of expectation, of stories, the stories that we tell ourselves. And so if I can bring myself into an awakened or an active energetic state and then have the intention that that same state is transferred isn't exactly right because it's not really something going from me to you. Energy becomes enlivened. It consumes, dissolves, washes away whatever is blocking it, whatever is obscuring it. One analogy that I use sometimes is like the old garden hose, sort of, because we have these energetic channels. And if I'm directing as much energy to flow through the channels as I can, it sometimes gently, sometimes not, erodes whatever obscuration, whatever stuck or stagnant energy is there. And sometimes someone will experience like a real big shake or something on the table, and I think of that as a particularly tight knot suddenly being released. But most of the time it's very gentle.
The kink in the hose came undone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, what should someone expect though after having one of these sessions, either the sound bath or the Reiki, physically or emotionally?
Ideally, they have some space afterwards. You might think of integration or grounding, that sort of effect. Um, Stuff can come up. Sometimes it's a burst of creativity. Sometimes it's like really experiencing or getting in touch with some emotional stuff, not always pleasant, that maybe they were hiding away. And as I said to you earlier, that sometimes as something is released, we experience it. And so there's that. Journaling after a sound bath or a Reiki session is helpful. The integration is about stabilizing our experience of that state, whether it's meditation, whether it's Reiki, whether it's a sound bath. Getting to touch that place of peace or love or wisdom within ourselves is really beautiful, but then learning to bring that into our lives, learning that when things start to get tense or things start to get scary, we can take a breath in and find that same place that we visited in the sound bath or in the Reiki room. That's when it starts to transform our lives and our experience of our lives.
And lastly, I asked Christian what he hopes people leave with from either a Reiki or a sound bath session with him. Also, where people can find his website and his contact information if they're interested in booking a session. What do you hope people leave with after either practice the sound bath or the Reiki?
Um, See, you just got me stuck on this idea of curiosity. I mean, I think that's a beautiful thing. Um, the message I probably give the most often is there's nothing broken, wrong, or missing about you. The peace, the love, the creativity, the wisdom that it feels like you're looking for, trying to piece together or fix by running around out in the world is already inside of you. And it's found by peeling back the layers, starting from our family of origin through now, the layers of stories, the layers of judgments, the layers of expectations or patterns of thought or behavior, all this stuff that we start doing because it feels safer, because we learn it from our parents, or because we feel like it's the way we need to be in the world. But when we're ready, we let it go.
Great. Well, where can people find you? How do they book a lesson?
Okay. The best place to find me is my website, which is sacredsomaspace.com. Or if you Google Sacred Soma, it should be one of the first that comes up. Um, I do monthly sound baths at the aquarium, and those are linked on the website. I also have rotating sound baths and other workshops in Charleston, and those will always be on the events page. The website is also where you can book a session and read some more about me and the practice and reach out and contact me. And then for any listeners, I thought I would put up the code curiosity.
Awesome.
So that'll give people a little discount if they want to try a one-on-one session. And yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you. I cannot thank Christian enough for his time. We had such a lovely conversation after my Reiki session. I spent all morning with him. I think this is something that you're going to have to try for yourself. I can't really describe how I felt after either one, and they were both very different experiences. Obviously, the sound bath in the aquarium, in front of the tank, you're restful, the tunes. You definitely feel the vibrations in your body. How that affects you afterwards, I think, is something that is so individualistic that sharing my experience may not make a lot of sense to anyone else. The Reiki as well, it was quite an experience. It was very, very relaxing. But again, I'm sure my experience would differ so much from anyone else's. It would be very hard to put into words. There were definitely moments where I was feeling pressure in certain places that I didn't expect. Certainly felt like, energy releases for sure, but it's hard to tell because frankly, it was so relaxing. I may have actually dozed off once or twice. Whether or not you believe you're a spiritual person, whether or not you believe that this could be something helpful or not, definitely encourage everyone to try it. It's the whole point of this show is trying to convince you that there's so many things out there, so many activities, so many things we don't know about, and that we ought to open our minds to. And this is definitely one of them. I think for some folks, there may be some hesitation, but it truly could be helpful, and you just don't know yet. So try it, see how you feel. It's not like you have to keep going if it's not for you. But I certainly encourage each and every one of you to give it a go. I thank y'all for listening. I really enjoy doing this. I get to do so many cool things, and I love reporting to you about them, bringing these local practitioners and business folks from the Charleston area to your podcast, wherever you listen to it. I appreciate you all. If anyone has any ideas of things they would like to see, please DM me on Instagram at Curiosity on the Move, and I will be back on in 2 weeks.